For years, Western sanctions and U.S. pressure have kept Russia's aviation ambitions grounded. But recently, a stunning revelation emerged from high-level talks in Alaska. Washington offered Moscow a deal: cooperation on advanced engine technology and a complete lifting of aviation sanctions. It sounded like a breakthrough. Yet, to everyone's surprise, Russia flatly refused. So, why would the U.S. try to strengthen a rival's aerospace industry? And why would Russia turn down a lifeline that could have revived it? Let's find out. At first glance, Western dominance in aircraft engines seems absolute. From General Electric's GE90 and GE9X to Rolls-Royce's Trent XWB, these engines aren't just machines. They're the beating hearts of modern aviation, symbols of precision, innovation, and trust. But behind that dominance lies a paradox. These engines depend on a vast global web of suppliers. In the UK, turbine blades are forged to survive temperatures hotter than molten lava. In Mexico, intricate phatic systems, the brains of jet engines, are assembled with surgical precision. In Japan and Malaysia, composite shells and titanium structures are crafted to perfection. This system is efficient, flexible, and fragile. A single missing alloy, a single shipment delayed, or one diplomatic fallout, and the entire chain trembles. And that's where power comes in. The United States controls this network. By granting or denying access to its technologies, Washington wields enormous geopolitical leverage, shaping outcomes without firing a shot. Aviation engines aren't just engineering marvels, they're instruments of global power. So when the U.S. offered Russia cooperation and sanctions relief, Moscow saw the hidden strings. Because joining that system would mean one thing: dependence. And if there's one lesson Russia learned from history, it's that dependence can destroy you. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, Russia's aviation sector fell apart. Factories were shut. Supply lines were broken. Key design bureaus like Ukraine's ZMKB Progress, once vital for engine development, were suddenly out of reach. The country was forced to rebuild from the ashes. Alone, what emerged from that chaos was a new doctrine: survival through self-reliance. While the West expanded global supply chains, Russia built an inward-looking ecosystem, less flexible but far more secure. Every stage, from design to testing, production, and maintenance, stays within its borders. That independence paid off. Today, engines like the PD-14, which powers the MC-21 airliner, rival Western models like the LEAP and PW-1 and its successor, the PD-35, still in development, aims to compete head-on with GE's mighty GE9X in the military sphere. Russia's autonomy runs even deeper. The AL-41F and Izdel-I-30 engines power the Su-57 stealth fighter, while VK-2500 and TV-7-117 engines sustain helicopters and transport aircraft. By mastering every link of the chain, Russia has achieved what few nations can: technological sovereignty in aerospace. That's why Moscow refused Washington's offer. But self-reliance comes with a cost. Russia's limited production scale makes it hard to meet global certification standards from the FAA or EASA. Its engines are used mostly domestically or by close allies like China and India. Meanwhile, Western companies backed by massive service networks and strong brand reputations still dominate global skies. So, Russia made a choice: sovereignty over scale. Control over reach. It's a slower path, but one immune to foreign pressure. And in a world of sanctions and trade wars, that's a priceless advantage. Now, why did the U.S. make such an offer in the first place? Because behind the diplomatic smiles, there were deeper motives. First, Washington wanted to pull Russia back into the Western-controlled supply chain to dismantle the independent industrial fortress Moscow had built over decades. Second, it was a chance to gather intelligence to peek inside Russia's closed engine programs and reverse engineer their secrets. And third, it was a subtle form of containment through cooperation. Create new dependencies under the guise of partnership. Limit Russia's freedom to act independently, and curb its growing collaboration with China's aviation sector. In short, it was a move not of goodwill, but of strategy. Moscow saw through it. To accept the deal would mean giving up decades of hard-won independence handing back the very leverage it had built through isolation. So Russia refused, reaffirming that aviation sovereignty is not just an industrial goal, it's a matter of national security. Today, a new era of aviation is emerging. Sanctions, trade wars, and geopolitical rivalries are forcing nations to go solo to build self-sufficient aerospace ecosystems, immune to foreign control. Russia's closed-loop model has already inspired others. Iran, India, and China are now pursuing similar paths. The message is clear: in the skies of the 21st century, power is not just about thrust or speed, it's about who owns the technology, who controls the supply chains, and who can keep flying when the world shuts its doors. The U.S. may offer partnership. Russia may refuse, but beneath the diplomacy lies a new kind of war, a war of industrial independence. Because in aviation, engines don't just lift aircraft, they lift nations. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments which system will survive the next global crisis, the Western network of shared power or Russia's fortress of self-reliance. As the world enters a new decade, the global aviation map is redrawing itself, not along flight routes, but along technological borders. On one side stand the Western giants, General Electric, Pratt & Whitney, and Rolls-Royce, companies that built their empires through global collaboration and open trade. On the other stands a new generation of self-reliant powers, Russia, China, India, each determined to design, build, and maintain aircraft engines without external dependence. This isn't just industrial competition anymore. It's the beginning of a technological Cold War in the skies. When Russia refused the U.S. offer in Alaska, it wasn't just rejecting a business deal, it was rejecting a vision of the world. A world where technological access is used as leverage, where innovation comes with invisible chains, and where the price of progress is sovereignty itself. For Moscow, the lesson was simple: control your engines, and you control your destiny. But this independence comes at a heavy cost. Russia's aviation industry, while resilient, remains isolated. Its global market share is shrinking, its access to cutting-edge materials limited, and its fleets aging faster than they can be replaced. Every advantage has its shadow. Self-reliance grants freedom, but limits growth. Global integration brings efficiency, but breeds dependence. It's a strategic paradox every nation now faces. Meanwhile, in Beijing, engineers working on China's CJ-1 Nanzan engine are studying both models, the Western web of collaboration and Russia's fortress of isolation. Their goal is clear: combine the best of both. A system open enough to innovate, but closed enough to survive. In New Delhi, India's HAL and GTRE are quietly laying the foundations for their own engine programs. Inspired by Moscow's self-sufficiency, but seeking Western cooperation where it benefits them most, from Tehran to Ankara, nations are learning the same lesson in the modern world. Technological sovereignty is national sovereignty. So when the United States reached out to Russia with that unexpected offer, it wasn't merely a gesture of reconciliation. It was a move on the geopolitical chessboard, a test of loyalty, a probe into how far Russia was willing to protect its independence, even at the cost of opportunity. And Moscow's answer was loud and clear: a firm no, because for Russia, engines are no longer just about aviation. They're about survival today, as sanctions tighten and global supply chains fracture. Russia continues to double down on self-sufficiency. Factories in Perm, Ufa, and Rybinsk are running non-stop, producing next-generation engines that few outside the country have ever seen. Projects like the PD-28, PD-35, and the classified product, RF, represent more than technical progress. They symbolize defiance against a system that once tried to isolate it, and determination to fly no matter the storm. In the long run, the world may not remain split forever. Perhaps one day cooperation will return, not through dominance, but through mutual respect. But until then, the skies will remain divided. On one side, engines that depend on the world. On the other, engines that stand alone. Because in this new age of aviation, the real race isn't about who flies faster or farther. It's about who can fly without permission. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts below. Do you believe self-reliance is the future of aviation, or will globalization win in the end? Let's talk in the comments.